Okay.
Okay.
Sekejap eh. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, it's already 8. So I can start eh?
Yep, sure.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, welcome to Censerve Talk Series 2. Our topic tonight will be the tragedy and crisis of humanity and what is our roles in the humanitarian crisis. Okay? Okay,
Yep.
so today let me introduce myself first. My name is Nurulain Nadhirah. You can call me Ain. And
Hi,
today
Nurulain.
we have Encik Syahrir Azfar, kan?
Yep. Yeah.
Which is the
How
Chief
are you?
Operating Officer for Global Peace Mission Malaysia.
Yep.
Yes, okay. Apa khabar Encik Syahrir?
Baik, Alhamdulillah.
Uh,
I'm fine. Thank you. How are you doing,
okay,
Nurulain?
okay, I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, okay, so for today's topic, we are going to talk about the tragedy and crisis of humanity, our roles. So, Encik Syahrir Azfar, can you introduce a little bit of yourself and your involvement in the humanitarian crisis?
All right. Okay. First of all, I would love to say thank you to Mr. Hakimi for the Censerve and the Censerve itself. And I am glad to be here tonight to share, basically, to have a knowledge sharing and also the experience sharing. So I'm hoping that tonight sharing would benefit everyone. We have 8 persons here. Can you guys
Yes.
say hi? All right. Okay. Let us begin with the introduction of myself. My name is Syahrir Azfar bin Saleh, as has been introduced by Sister Nurulain just now. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Global Peace Mission of Malaysia. We are a humanitarian agency. We have been established since 2001.
Okay.
So next year will be our 2 decades of establishment,
Oh,
and yeah, alhamdulillah. And I
Alhamdulillah.
am also the current chief executive officer of Malaysia for Syria, or
Oh.
this formerly known as Malaysian Lifeline for Syria.
Mm,
So my involvement in humanitarian crisis, or my involvement in this area of humanitarian, actually has been started since my university life. I was the member of Censerve as well. I was the president of Titian Wahyu Club of
oh,
Censerve.
okay.
If
Okay.
anyone knows about Titian Wahyu.
Yes.
So, yep, I've been actively involved in any kind of humanitarian response. I remember once I joined the flood relief team in Johor together with Censerve, and the very first overseas of overseas experience that I've been gone through is I went to Sri Lanka in, I think, 2000. When was it? A few years after the tsunami hit Sri Lanka. That was my
Oh,
first deployment to the foreign countries. But most of my early involvement in humanitarian was started during my university life in IIUM itself. So I was graduated from IIUM. I am proud to say I am IIUM graduate.
I am
I was
alumni.
alumni, yep, and also uh, I'm I'm doing accounting. I graduated in 2010, so
That was a long
almost
time ago.
10 years now. So
Yes.
yeah, brief introduction about me. Thanks.
Okay. The Sri Lanka, is it like when you are in your university year or after you graduated?
It was during my university year.
Or under Titian
Uh,
Wahyu or
no, that one is under Group
different
Pensasi
NGO?
Tamadun Dunia,
Oh, I
GPTD.
see.
If anyone knows GPTD, that it is basically research. We went to Sri Lanka, of course, to help the people in Sri Lanka, to see the Malay community in Sri Lanka, and also to see the aftermath of the tsunami
Tsunami.
hit in Sri Lanka. And a part of that, we are actually uh, looking or do some research how Islam came to Sri Lanka. So we have
Oh.
uh, this figure, Sheikh Yusuf Al Makassari. We are
Mm-hmm.
assigned to find the root, how Islam came to Sri Lanka at that time. So yeah,
I
Alhamdulillah.
see. So, in Sri Lanka, how long did you stay there?
I think we spent about 2 weeks.
Oh,
2 weeks,
that's
yeah,
long.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
very long
about 2 weeks.
actually.
So we went to several places in Sri Lanka, uh, and we met some Malay community. Surprisingly, there are Malay in Sri Lanka.
I
Uh,
see.
we might not know that there are Malay in some places in the world, but knowing that um, we have we have them in some other part of the world is quite amazing.
Yes,
Even they can speak Malay, but in a different kind of accent.
dialect. I
Yeah.
see. I
Hmm.
see. Okay. So how long have you been with a GPM, or is it after you graduated you directly involved with GPM, or?
So basically, I graduated, as I said, in 2010, and
Mm-hmm.
I joined the financial institution for about 1 year. And I thought the work that I'm doing is not my cup of tea. I love the job, but I thought that I couldn't put my passion towards my job, so I decided to left the job after 1 year, and I joined the Global Peace Mission Malaysia. So that's it. 2012 up to now, almost 8 to 9 years, I've been involving directly with the humanitarian response. Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's very long. Okay. So thank you for the introduction. So
Hmm.
I think we can enter our topic right now.
Yeah.
So, the first question I will. Okay, we are talking about the tragedy and crisis of humanity. So,
Hmm.
how can you define what is crisis and a tragedy? How
What do
do
you
you
know about
define?
how do you actually what do you have in mind when people are talking about crisis
Okay, when people talking
or
about crisis.
humanitarian tragedy? Hmm.
Okay, if people talk about a tragedy, it will mean something that is, I can say, like unexpected, something unexpected, like um no, it's not human nature, it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like something like tsunami,
Yes.
explosion, the one like the explosion in
Beirut.
somewhere. Yes, it's in Beirut. It's like it's
Hmm.
very unexpected, right? And
Yeah.
yes, and from there we can see that so many people's life affected. So
Hmm.
that's what I can say lah.
So anything related to affecting the life of the people,
Yes.
or where the situation with high level of human suffering. You see,
Mhm.
when anything happen, it involves with the human suffering, in which the basic human welfare is in danger.
Mhm.
You know,
Human
some
welfare.
basic basic needs of the of human are in danger in a large scale. You know,
Mhm.
and or simply that we can put uh, humanitarian crisis is like an event or a series of events which represent a critical threat to the health. Okay,
Mhm.
critical threat to the health and also to the safety and security or any well-being of a community or other large group of people. So basically, anything that related uh, to the humanity or to the community, to the people in a large scale, uh, that somehow we call humanitarian crisis. But we have to define the causes of this humanitarian crisis. If I can share with you, there are basically two main causes to the humanitarian crisis. The first one, as you said, the earthquake. What else? The flood.
Mhm.
Uh, we call it as a natural disaster. All right.
Oh yeah,
And
natural disaster.
the second one is the complex emergencies or conflict generated emergencies. So these two are the main causes to the humanitarian crisis. But it depends on the what we call the level of um, risk or the level of the aftermath of the um, crisis happen. For example, if you are saying having a flood is a humanitarian crisis, what about the flash flood? Do you consider flash flood as a humanitarian crisis?
That's a bit
Mhm.
difficult, but I think flash flood, if it's something that we because we say it's a flash flood, right? So I
Yeah.
think that is not it's not something that is very serious, but um yeah, it's something that I think what can I say? I'm not really sure actually. For me, I don't think it's a very serious crisis.
So we consider it is not a disaster
Mm-hmm.
because in humanitarian crisis, we need to really identify this is our role. If you are talking, we are talking about the role of
Yes,
the
yes.
of us in humanitarian crisis and tragedy. First thing first, we have to identify what kind of tragedy, what kind of crisis that we are going to respond to it. So if you are talking about any, we go for the first point, which is natural disaster. So when we talk about natural disaster, it's a like a natural event. Um, First is if it is a natural event, but it doesn't affect any kind of people, we doesn't call it as a disaster in humanitarian. You know, this is the first one. For example, there is like Taufan hurricane in the sea, but then it doesn't involve any people.
Yeah.
Or there are a large of fire in any forest far away from the communities. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
call it a tragedy or disaster because it doesn't really involve people. It might involve like other and like animals, you know, but that basically comes in a different kind of how you define humanitarian crisis. So basically, even if it is affecting the people, but the people can manage
Mm-hmm.
on their own. You know,
Okay.
if we are talking about flood, for example, it's just a flash flood. It affected the people, but then
But they
basically
can
people
manage, right?
they can manage by themselves. So we don't really consider it a disaster, or we need to respond to it. So to summarize, you know, uh, what we consider as humanitarian crisis is when a natural event come, and then it is a very it is too big for local people to manage by themselves, and it has an impact to the vulnerable
Okay.
people. All right.
All right.
So that's basically to have the understanding of natural disaster and how we consider it is a humanitarian crisis. And the second one, very quickly, complex emergencies or conflict generated emergencies. So it is basically a very simple example is like a civil war, it's like a ethnic cleansing, it's like
Mm-hmm.
a genocide that happened, uh, that the authority of that country has um, considered breakdown, or they couldn't do much, and they require some international intervention into that conflict. That is what we call the complex emergencies or conflict generated emergencies. So these two items, or these two events that actually causes, or what we call contributed to what we call
Humanitarian
a
crisis.
crisis. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, when we talk about humanitarian crisis, what you say is identify whether it's a natural disaster or complex emergency. So basically, you talk about the saving the human's life, right?
Yes, true.
Okay. So how would you describe the Australian fire that happened recently? Like many animals are trapped during the fire, right? So is it considered as tragedy or humanitarian crisis?
It is considered. It was considered
Oh,
as a
okay.
human justice because um, it can be both. I mean, the causes, the two causes can be only caused by one kind of thing, natural disaster, or it can
Mm-hmm.
be both.
Okay.
In the situation of Australian fire, of course, the fire was in the forest, but it involved the people. Okay,
Yep.
but at the same time, the situation is is somehow uncontrollable. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you have been seeing a lot of people or other countries offering their help to the
Yes.
Australian government, offering their help to help the people, to help the
Mm-hmm.
animal even. So
I see.
when it comes to the debt level, it has it that is what we call humanitarian crisis, and we have to make immediate response to that.
Okay. Okay. So we have defined what is a crisis and a tragedy. So what is actually our roles when there is a crisis? So what is the public
Okay,
rules? Like let's say how can I help when there is a crisis?
uh, you may start small actually,
Mm-hmm.
but if we are talking in a larger scale, or we are talking about a human actor to respond to the crisis that happen all around the world, um, you need to have uh, some experience or some good knowledge.
Knowledge.
So
Mm-hmm.
basically, it's not that hard. It's just that the I would say the opportunity that comes to learn and experience by yourself is quite steep. I mean, there are there are there are a lot of tragedy and crisis happening in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but how many of the NGOs, how many of the international NGOs are their opening their opportunity for others to get involved, to volunteer themselves, to volunteer with them, to go to the ground zero, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and to learn and to experience by themselves. So um, it is it's not possible, but basically, in my own experience, you have to prove yourself that you are worth to go to ground zero.
I
So with
see.
that, you need you need you need to like equip yourself with a knowledge. I just want to give some. Uh, I just want to throw the fact that in this world today, in 2020, there are 168 million people that need humanitarian assistance or they need protection. It is around 1 in 45 people in the world. So that is the fact. And being a human being, we really want to help. Even
Mm,
we can't see people who don't have food on their table, uh, on the breakfast, lunch, dinner. While we are so lucky, we are so alhamdulillah,
alhamdulillah.
um, we still have at least food to feed us and also to feed our family.
Yes.
So uh, first thing first is to if you are talking about the role of us is to have empathy. That is
Mm-hmm.
basically the very first thing that you need to have in you and you yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, if you are considering you yourself a humanitarian actor, there are basically three phases, three phases of humanitarian response. We are talking the role is to respond to the humanitarian crisis. If anything happen in any part of the world, the role of you, first thing first, is to identify is it a humanitarian crisis or what, and do you have to respond to it? Of course, um, if you think it is enough to respond from your own comfortable room or comfortable office, you can just respond to it. Maybe give some, for example, we have the shooting in, uh, where is it? The mass shooting. Dekat mana tu? Allah Musta'an Muhammad.
Mass shooting.
Mm, I can't remember in one place. The mass shooting killed many people, many Muslim people. Okay,
Mm.
so
Oh, is it in
in
the New Zealand? The
I
one, the
think so.
mosque?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, the mosque
Mm-hmm.
in New Zealand, the Christchurch,
Yes.
Christchurch. Okay, is it a humanitarian crisis? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But it involves human,
Yes.
and it involves humanity, and it involves violence to humanity. Should we go there, and should we go to help? What are our role? Can they by themselves manage that thing? I think they can manage that
Yes.
thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the least that we can do, the least role that we can do, is to give a word of ta'ziyah, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The condolences that we are given to, we even went to the embassy of New Zealand to
Mm-hmm.
give the word of ta'ziyah to them, and this is basically our solidarity towards any tragedy happening in the world. All right. So basically, in the humanitarian world, again, there are three phases to respond to the humanitarian crisis. The first one is everyone knows it's about relief. It's about emergency. It's about
Mm-hmm.
uh, anything like early recovery and whatnot. Okay, and the main objective of this relief phase is to saving life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything you do. I mean, if for example, earthquake in Palu, we have receiving the news about the liquefaction, how the land is like uh, sucking all the people and all the building on top of it, and they have even tsunami in Palu.
Mm-hmm.
So we heard the tragedy, in GPM, for example, and we immediately decided to go and to do the needs assessment and to get back to the headquarters and get the headquarters to do something and to help the people who are in need. Our main objective on that time was to save the life of the people as much
Mhm.
as we can.
Mhm.
So that is the first one. It could be basically giving food to them,
Mhm.
giving drinking water to them to make sure they are hydrated,
Mhm.
and to give them a shelter. And usually we give them tents. And sometimes if we bring doctors with us, then we will have a medical tent,
Medical team.
or we
Mhm.
will provide them with the medical kind of assistance. And even if we talk about earthquake again, for
Mhm.
example, um, easily they might need a search and rescue team, for example,
Mhm.
right? Like in a Haiti earthquake, uh, they need the expertise from outside who have the expertise to know or to hear um, the breathing of the people who are trapped under the building.
Mhm.
And surprisingly, because we are just recently came back from Beirut, Lebanon, and after we came back about a week, there is one team that has experience in Haiti earthquake. Were they in Beirut, and they are saying they heard the they heard the breathing of the people who trapped under the building, and because they have this expertise, and they come to the disaster area and they will provide help to them. All
I
right.
see.
So this is the first phase, the relief phase, the
Mhm.
emergency one. We need to, by hook or by crook, whatever happened, we need to save most of the people life.
Mhm.
There will be some people, some casualties and whatnot, but if we don't act fast, if we don't give emergency humanitarian response to them, then we are afraid many more people will die. All right.
There will be more damage,
So
right?
definitely, okay. So we come to the second phase. Oh,
Mhm.
panjang nih.
It's okay.
Uh, okay. The second phase is a recovery phase. It
Mhm.
normally begins when the immediate large scale of threat to human life has been diminished. Maksudnya, for example, the threat of life of people not having a shelter.
Mhm.
Okay, that one kita dah selesaikan. That one we have done tremendous job to provide them a shelter. What else after the shelter? Are you going to let the people just stay in the shelter in the tent for few years? And
No.
what next? Yeah.
Help them
So
to build
that
their
is
life.
help them. You need to help them because if um, I I always saying this term of karomah insania, or we call, what is karomah insania? It's a kemuliaan insan, human
Mhm.
dignity. Just imagine when any crisis happen, any tragedy happen, uh, where is the level of human dignity at that point of time? For example, before the tragedy, before the crisis, they have a home, they have
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
roof over their head, right? So when crisis happen, they lost everything. They have
Mhm.
nothing. Their human dignity went down
Drop.
from this level and dropped to this level. And what is our role? Our role is to
Motivate. Mhm.
lift up the human dignity to the real human kind of human kind of treatment.
Mhm.
So what we do after we give them an emergency, we give them the relief item, the shelter, we give them food, we give them treatment if they are injured and whatnot. Then we come to the next phase is to recover them, to get them back on their feet, you know,
Mhm.
and to provide support in what they want, you know, and to ask them and to lift them up to start a new life, a better life. All right. And normally what we do, like for example, when we went to Syria several times, in Aleppo, the most dangerous cities in the world, in
Yes.
Aleppo, what we do, uh, basically when we come at first in 2000 and at the end of 2012, we went there during winter season. I think we brought around half million ringgit that time, and we provide the people with no home, where their home has been attacked by the bombing and whatnot, and they are just staying under the tents, under the canvas tents, under the heavy winter snow and whatnot. So our first action is to give them the winter kit, for example, the jacket, the blanket and whatnot. And yeah, uh, and after that, we go around and see what else that we can do. So we saw a lot of kids go around without doing nothing, and they are holding like toys, uh, apa senapang. They are holding gun toys like that. You know, this is not good for their upbringing. So we
Mhm.
thought like, because when the crisis started in Syria, the educational systems somehow went down. I mean, they somehow closed most of the education center or school. So what we are doing, we are opening a education center for them to for the kids to come and learn something in that school. So this is in the second phase that we call it as a recovery. Uh, and the third one, are
The
you ready
last
for the
one.
third one? The last
Yes.
one would be the rehabilitation.
Mhm.
Okay. So rehabilitation, basically our aim to support the communities and societies to regain their livelihood and resilience. Okay. We have this term of saying build back better. Faham tak? Kita membina kembali dalam keadaan yang lebih baik.
Mhm.
We are building them back better, because why we use the word better, because we don't want the communities and societies, they shouldn't just return to where they were before the tragedy. We want them to come back and build their life
Life.
in a better way,
Mhm. To
stronger,
move on.
uh, to move on. You know, so rehabilitation is there are lots. I mean, for us in GPM, Global Peace Mission Malaysia, we are rebuilding houses, we are rebuilding schools and whatnot. We train the teachers. We have microfinance to support the traders and businesses to start off their life and get benefit from it, profit. And we even provide what we call rehabilitation center for the people, for the victims of the war in Syria. We need them to get back. So this is these are basically our role by the three phases that I've been talking about. First one is the relief, second one is the recovery, and the third one is rehabilitation. So those three roles, we need to play important roles in this, and of course, all of these roles couldn't be benefit to the beneficiaries if it does not be supported by the people. I
Mhm.
mean, because
By the
the
public.
funding is not
Mhm.
The funding is not. I tell you, it's not
It's
small
not easy
funding.
to get. Yeah.
We need a big funding to
Yes.
do all of these three. But somehow, I would say some humanitarian organization they might have the expertise only in the first phase.
Relief
So
phase.
it's okay. It's okay. I mean, some NGOs have this only expertise on emergency cases, emergency relief. It's okay. They would be the first one to arrive in the ground at the ground zero. They will be the first one to come and see the situation of the earthquake. It's okay. We are basically completing and complementing each other. Some NGOs they are very expert in medical, so go ahead, no problem. Some NGOs are expert in rebuilding, having a shelter, having a good engineer. Uh, they know how to do earthquake-prone building, so they contribute the idea to avoid many people die under the building because of the earthquake. So Alhamdulillah, everyone is doing
Doing their
their
part.
doing their part, and I think everyone here who are with us in the series is doing their part as well to be with us to understand more about the role that we can do during the humanitarian crisis or tragedy. Yeah.
Okay. So when you first talk about the relief phases, you talk about responding to the ground zero. So how fast can we go to the places of emergency, like to the to the to that ground zero? How fast can we react when there is a tragedy?
Um, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because like previously the explosion in Beirut,
Mm-hmm.
we just arrived at the ground zero a week after the blast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the reason being is that this the current situation is not really helpful.
Yeah, it's not really
Um,
permissible to travel around.
yeah, it's not really permissible to travel around freely while others
Yes,
are being locked down
yes.
in their own house and whatnot. And but for us as a humanitarian organization, w- we are thinking there are uh, a big or um, a harder push to really go to Beirut and help the people there because we make a research and we make a like um, uh, try to find uh, the why we need to go there to Beirut. You know, actually we have been working in Beirut for the Syrian refugees for several years, so we know that Beirut has been a home uh, to millions of the refugees. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say it from the Syrian refugees or Palestinian refugees. Lebanon has been a home to them. They provide their land, their small land, to the people of other countries. You know, so when this tragedy happened in Beirut, we thought like uh, first the situation of COVID-19 in Beirut or in Lebanon itself is is dying. I mean, if we are talking about the daily cases is hardly under 600 cases daily
Mm-hmm.
in Lebanon. That is one thing, COVID-19. Second one is the economic status in Lebanon is not that good. They have been decreasing of their value of money almost 70-80%. So with this tragedy of the explosion in Beirut, and knowing they have been a home to the refugees, and knowing the situation of COVID-19 and whatnot, we thought this is the time that we help the people. This is the time that we help the local people or anyone who are affected by the blast, this is the time. So it is somehow a big push for us to make sure we can go to Beirut. And what we do, we contact the immigration, we contact the Ministry of Health, we contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and whatnot, and we ask approval from them to make traveling to Beirut and to give immediate response or immediate aid to the people affected. And somehow, Alhamdulillah, we spent about 2 weeks in Beirut. We provide them with food.
Mhm.
We even repair their house. We just
Mhm.
want we just want the people, because it affected almost 300,000 people in
MashaAllah.
Beirut, and most of it they are homeless because of their house are I mean they
Badly
cannot be
damaged.
in their house, yeah, badly damaged. So what we do is we repair their house and whatnot. We give them food. They don't have money. Some of them are unemployed and whatnot. Some of them are even refugees, unemployed, and afraid of getting any job outside. So the situation is not that good in Beirut. So if you are asking how fast that we can be at the ground zero, it really depends on the situation. But in our rules or our motivation is in global peace mission we have this saying of the first one to arrive, the last one to leave. You know,
Mhm.
it implicates what? It implicates that any kind of situation or humanitarian crisis, global peace mission Malaysia has to be the first one who has the access to the ground zero, and the last one to leave the crisis area. When we talk about the last one, we are talking about all the three phases.
I see.
First, we go for the emergency, and then we
Mhm.
go for recovery, and at the end, we go for the
Rehabilitation.
rehabilitation.
Mhm.
So after the rehabilitation, we are saying, okay, I think you guys are okay. Uh, you guys can get back to your own life better than before, and this is the time for us to say bye bye, and we shall meet again.
I
So
see.
something like that.
Okay. So, when you talk about like our role, so um, you said earlier that we need to have an experience before being a volunteer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what about people who wanted to volunteer but they don't know where to go? Like, will will there be like a
Where to
training?
get the experience?
Yes, where to get the experience? Yes. How can
Yeah,
they be part of the mission? Mm.
I would say this is a
Mm-hmm.
dilemma of most of the youngest generation, including me, even me myself. Um, I would say um, I would say the organization or any humanitarian organization need to open up. You know,
Yes.
uh, how do you want a people with experience if you are not allowing them to gain experience? Right?
Yes.
So in our culture, most of the time we learn from experience instead of going to the class.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
you are taking courses on humanitarian, for example. Of course, for me, my personal view, if you have that experience firsthand and you have that in mind, the situation of the crisis and tragedy, and then you come to the class and take any courses on humanitarian, your understanding of the knowledge will be different.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah? You will get better understanding. You will know, you will realize, oh, this is the phase actually. Why? why we go to this country and we just give food to them, and we just waste our money for one time of aid instead of giving a long term kind of assistance. Then in the humanitarian response, we have this phase called the relief. So in this relief, yes, the situation need this first, a part of the long-term kind of assistance. So I would say, do come and volunteer. Try to push yourself. Try to portray yourself. You are worth to be a humanitarian actor. Okay, don't uh, don't aim too high. Okay, like for example, I just want to go to the I just want to go to overseas only. I just want to volunteer in Syria only because their kids is so charming, for example. Their kids are very cute, for example. But when you come to the situation of you have to be deployed to the Bangladesh, for example, you don't want to be there because you feel like it's very dirty. For example, you 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 are being a choosy humanitarian actor. It doesn't work that way. So I would say even you don't have any opportunity to volunteer overseas, do it on your own motherland first.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who are in need in our motherland.
Mm-hmm.
Even we are in Global Peace Mission Malaysia, we are not only focusing on the people who are in need outside Malaysia. Even during COVID-19, the situation in Malaysia are so bad. We are also deploy our volunteer to several states in Malaysia to give some assistance to the people in need. So even me myself, even I got a grant to go outside to Sri Lanka, I have to pass the experience of helping the people in Malaysia first. We go to Orang Asli, we go to the Rumah Orang Tua, we go to Rumah Anak Yatim, we go to the flood area, and we just want to have that experience first. And I think with a lot of experience in your own country, uh, someone might see you have a potential, to grow further and to be a good humanitarian actor in the future, inshallah. Yeah.
Okay. So when you said that if you don't have experience, we can start in our motherland, in Malaysia itself.
Yeah.
So, let's say like I have experience already. I have experience going to Cambodia, to Vietnam, and I have experience even in Malaysia. So, uh, for people like me, how do we go to? I mean, how do we expand our experience? Like, can I like how? What if something happened? And how can I volunteer myself? And where can I volunteer myself? Like, uh, s- let's say I go to GPM. Can you guys like
Mhm.
macam like accept me? Like, do you guys accept volunteers? Macam like, do you open recruitment to do volunteerism, or let's, or is it very difficult to go to expand the experience of being a volunteer?
All right. One thing that everyone has to understand is the level of the risk.
Yes.
Okay. There are risks that we can count and the risks that we can count. You
Okay.
know, uh, especially when people always ask me, because I've been going in and out to Syria like almost 15 to 20 times since 2012. A lot of people ask me whether they can join me to be a
Yes.
volunteer and to go to Syria and whatnot. I'm afraid that they are just seeing the best part of it.
Yes.
I mean, going to the people, giving the aid by our own hand to the kids, to the one in need in Syria. But to be honest, the story behind it is not
It's not that
it's not
easy.
really it's not really easy. The hardship that you have to go through is not that easy.
Yes.
So uh, in our discussion, with all the situation, with all the risks that you need to be taken, in our discussion, we thought we could not open it simply to any kind of volunteers. So we need to be very choosy. Yeah, we need to vet who are going with us, because there are reports of extremists going
Mm-hmm.
inside Syria by the road of humanitarian agency or humanitarian organization. There are reports saying some organizations are supporting the extremists inside Syria. So we don't want this kind of risk tarnish the name of our organization. So somehow, especially in those countries, in those high risk countries, I would say most of the organization would not allow any uh, so-called normal, or it's not normal. I mean, uh, or just simply take anyone to come with them to go
Mm-hmm.
to these um, high risk countries. Other part is okay. I mean, like Cambodia, Vietnam, other countries. Um, I would say when the time comes, it will come to you. So
Okay.
keep the spirit, keep the spirit, because even I would say our staff or our current volunteers in GPM, not everyone of them has the opportunity to go to the high risk country. Uh, all of you have um, your own part. Some of us just doing the fundraising, you know. Some of us just doing the budgeting. Some of us just buy a ticket for the one who will fly, not for you.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
I know the feeling. You know, you buy a ticket, but you are not flying. You buy a ticket
Yes.
for someone else, but you are really eager to go. But everyone has their own role in making any humanitarian mission a success.
Yes.
So I would say when the time comes, it will come uh, uh, at the best form. And when it comes to you, you need to grab it and yeah, get your experience as much as possible. But don't forget the main objective of being a humanitarian actor is to saving lives.
Okay. Okay. So, when you talk about going for a humanitarian mission, how many people usually GPM will take when you are going up to, for example, like Syria to the Beirut? How many people in that team that will go?
It depends. The least people that we have been deployed is two inside
Mm-hmm.
Syria. The most people I think that we have deployed is less than 10. Less
Mm-hmm.
than 10, depends. This is basically in the high risk area, but if the other area that we can manage the risk, I would say we can take around less than 20, 30, something like that. But it will not become a purely humanitarian. We will
Mm-hmm.
go to see the humanitarian situation in some areas, and normally we will like mix it with tourism or
I
just
see.
like sightseeing, something like that. It's just a part of activity that a part of you just go sightseeing or you just go travel. You know, why not you go travel and we add some value to it. You help the people as well during your traveling.
I see. So, you said that you went to the Beirut during the. I mean,
Mhm.
you went to there to give aid, right? So, how long does the preparation that you usually will take during an to prepare to go there or something like that? I mean, like the explosive is very sudden, right? This is not
Yeah.
something expected. So, how long does the preparation you take to go there? I mean, what do you prepare before going there?
Okay. The explosion was on the 4th of August,
Mm-hmm.
and our mission was on the 13th, 13th of August. So roughly we have around 9 days to prepare. Okay. With the guidelines that we have to abide, we have to check the SOP, the Standard Operation Procedure of COVID-19 in Lebanon. We have to do the COVID test, the swab test, 48 hours before the flight. We have to find a good price of the ticket. We have to get approval from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Uh, we need to get funding,
Yes.
a big funding. Luckily, we are having cooperation with other NGOs as well. So we managed to bring around 200,000 ringgit fund
MashaAllah.
to help the people in Beirut. So all of those that I've been saying, we have to do it in almost 1 week, uh, and you may say we are in chaos in our office. You need to get the approval, you need to get the information, you need to contact your partner in Beirut and whatnot. You need to arrange who will take you in Beirut, where where I where will you stay in Beirut and whatnot. So those arrangements need people with expertise and also competent to do it. So it's not the first time for us to deploy in such an emergency kind of cases. I remember I went to Palu just about 2 or 3 days after the earthquake. Even to arrive to Palu, I have to travel by bus for about 24, 28 hours because at that time the airport is closed. So the only route at that time was by the land.
Mm-hmm.
So so it's not just you going there by yourself physically. You need to prepare mentally and
Yes.
physically to be very fit uh, to uh, to uh, to go by the challenges during the humanitarian mission.
I
There are a lot
see.
of experience, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so we are almost reaching to an end. So I can
Wow.
say
Okay.
that
Alhamdulillah.
this is a very fruitful discussion. So,
Yeah.
do you have any last word before we end our broadcast? Or what about? I mean, do you have any words of encouragement or something to those youngsters who eagerly wanted to be part of a humanitarian mission volunteer?
All right. I am. I have gained experience from Censerve,
Mm-hmm.
and I will be uh, terhutang budi. Apa ya? I will be uh, apa ya? Terhutang budi is
Grateful.
I'll be forever grateful to
Yes.
Censerve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because Censerve is one of the chapter in my life that has been putting me at this level now, alhamdulillah. And Ibu Martinelli is my mentor last
Yes.
time. She just recently retired.
Yep.
So what I would say is that um, if you have the passion, go for it. If you are if you have, especially in humanitarian kind of things, if you have this passion, go find any organization out there. There are a lot of humanitarian agencies out there. Go find anywhere. And you are most welcome to Global Peace Mission Malaysia. Do come to us, set an appointment with your clubs and whatnot. Set an appointment and just come to us and see what kind of things, what kind of project or activities that we can do together. Uh, Now it's not the time that you need to do it by yourself. It's not the time for you uh, to be proud of you doing it by yourself.
Yep.
This is a time for us to collaborate. This is a time for us to cooperate each other, to join venture, to share the expertise between each other. So I would encourage students especially to get involved as much as possible in this kind of area of humanitarian, be it in local, be it in overseas, whatever it is, it may add value to your resume. It may
Yes.
add value to your CV that the future employer would would foresee you as a good future candidate to their company that will bring, because you have already instilled empathy in yourself, instill the humanity in yourself. What more if you are working in the company later? So just try for it. And all the clubs in Censerve, I would love to I would love to meet every one of you actually. Inshallah, I will try to arrange with Brother Hakimi to see what we can do together. Anything, please come, please come. You can follow our Facebook, Global Peace Mission Malaysia, or you can find Malaysia for Syria as well. And if you are keen to donate and to raise fund for us, you can go to jomsedekah.com or
Mhm.
you can go to infaksyria.com. Later, maybe I can just put a comment, drop the
Yes.
comment on the Facebook. So, welcome to the world of humanitarian.
Okay, so that's it. I think that's it for our session tonight. I am very glad to be moderating this session with you, and I would like to thank you for your time today. You just got back, right?
I would say almost 1.5 months now.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
what's your future plan?
So basically, we are currently fundraising for the winter project, and we are currently building a house in Syria. We have currently having 100 houses being built in Syria. We are going to have school. We are going to have mosque as well. So we are actually in the part of rehabilitation mostly in Syria, and some other part in the world. We are building mosques, we are building water wells, and what else? I mean, like you name it. What kind of things, what kind of project that you think you have in mind? Uh, Try to contact us, and we will see whether we have already the project or we can see the feasibility of the project. If we can do it, then just try to do it. Now, winter mission is coming, so we are going to send aid for the people of Syria, of course, for the people of Yemen, for the people in Palestine, for the people in Bangladesh.
I see.
Um, yeah, inshallah.
Okay.
Pray
Inshallah.
for us.
Inshallah. Okay, inshallah. So, I think I will end the broadcast tonight. And again, I would like to say thank you for your time, for
I am
your
so glad. Alhamdulillah.
yes,
Thank you so much.
I'm very glad too because you shared so many your experience, and I too gain I too gain information and new knowledge tonight. So again,
Alhamdulillah.
thank you, and I think I'll see you soon, and maybe
Inshallah. Anytime. Yep.
yeah, we maybe can have more discussion after this with Brother Hakimi. All right.
Inshallah. Take care,
Okay.
everyone.
Okay. You too. Take care. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.